What causes cancer is damage to your mitochondria. Then what happens, this normal cell converts over to a cancer cell. So it's not like an invasion of an infection, a virus. And so this new cancer cell is very kind of prehistoric. It's very crude. It loses its mortality. It can actually now live forever. And so the metabolism of cancer is completely different from the metabolism of a normal cell. Its rate of consuming sugar is much higher than a normal cell. And the other interesting thing about cancer is that it spreads into areas of inflammation. So it can become malignant and spread into areas that you had trauma, mechanical injury, or for example, let's say you're a smoker and you have chronic inflammation in your lungs, it can spread in that area. Or let's say there's chronic inflammation in the gut that happened from eating the wrong foods, then the cancer can spread to that area as well. So it's really important to understand that anything that can create damage in your mitochondria can also cause cancer. So I think everyone knows smoking usually causes cancer to your lungs, but smoking can also cause cancer to your pancreas. In fact, one of the biggest causes of pancreatic cancer is smoking, which is kind of interesting because you would think that it would only affect the lungs, but it can affect the pancreas as well. And of course, the chronic consumption of alcohol can cause cancer, okay? I think most people know that. And then of course, they talk about obesity as being a risk factor. Okay, is it obesity itself, or is it a diet that created obesity? Like a diet that has frequent meals, so 6 meals a day, causing a lot of snacking. So the combination of both frequent eating and high carbs can increase your risk of getting obese. And so in reality, I wouldn't say that obesity in itself causes cancer, but those things that cause obesity definitely increase cancer, especially too much insulin. When you have high levels of insulin, your risks for cancer go way up. And so now it's important to understand what causes an insulin spike. Well, a lot of refined carbohydrates and sugar, as well as eating frequent meals. What about fasting? What about intermittent fasting? What does that do for cancer? Well, it does a lot. It's probably the most important thing you can do if you get cancer. In fact, there's 2 cases that I know right now that were both stage 4 terminal cancer. And both of these people did fasting and completely went in remission with cancer. I mean, the doctors were just dumbfounded. In fact, there's 2 cases that I know right now that were both stage 4 terminal cancer. And both of these people did fasting and completely went in remission with cancer. I mean, and both of these individuals were not smokers. They were not drinkers. So the question is, what caused their cancer? Right now, if you actually do research on decreasing your risk factor for cancer, you'll see that saturated fat causes cancer, or it's linked to cancer. And so they're recommending that you should replace your saturated fat with unsaturated fat. Okay, so this right here is very, very bad advice. Quality of studies that they did for fat are basically questionnaire studies, very, very poor quality, very inconclusive. To say that saturated fat alone increases your risk of getting cancer. There are so many other variables that it could be when you're doing this questionnaire type study. So as far as the unsaturated fats, you have omega-3 and then you have omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are very anti-inflammatory, so that would greatly improve inflammation, which could decrease the risk of getting cancer right there. But then omega-6 fatty acids, the corn oils, the soy oil, cottonseed oil, the other unsaturated fatty acids that people are telling you to eat more of and replace the saturated fats, well, those have direct links of increasing inflammation. But there's also some credible data that shows that when you consume these seed oils that are heated, as in frying something, greatly increase your risk of getting cancer. And I'll put that data down below. Now, what about monounsaturated fats like avocado oil or olive oil? Well, those show some pretty good anti-cancer effects. So those are pretty safe. But personally, I've not seen any credible data that shows in any way that saturated fats are linked to increasing your risk of getting cancer. Now, what about trans fats? Yes, there is some big links between trans fats and increasing your risk of cancer. So to simplify, what I'm going to talk about is the more refined something is, the more chemically processed something is, like the vegetable oils, for example, where they're using all sorts of chemicals and high heat and pressure to refine them, the more something will increase the risk of getting cancer. Now, this also kind of crosses over to processed foods, okay? Because when we're looking at refined foods or ultra refined foods, it's in the family of a lot of processed meat and refined carbohydrates and chemicals, and the combination with adding a protein with sugar or a fat with sugar with high heats, okay? As in French fries, chips. But the problem is when you take this processed food, especially refined grains, and you add it with heat and you add it with certain vegetable oils, you get what's called acrylamide, okay? Acrylamide is a known carcinogen. So again, without getting too complex, we want to avoid refined foods. We want to avoid processed foods, of course.